Ben and Gwen appear on screen seemingly slightly older, though not by much, maybe 2-3 years, as they were fighting Zombozo, it would seem. Gwen asked what kind of sicko would steal from a brain bank, and Ben asked why Bellwood even has a brain bank exactly, while holding the brain in a jar. Zombozo grabs the jar and says that a mind is a terrible thing to waste before running off, trying to get away from them. Ben goes to follow and hits the new Omnitrix, changing into Walkatrout, and Gwen asked how exactly that was going to help, though Ben quickly got an idea, asking Gwen if she remembers their old Pee-wee hockey days. Smirking, Gwen then uses her magic to send Ben flying into Zombozo like a hockey puck, knocking him over and making him drop the casing as she used her magic to make it float into the air higher than he could reach. The clown says that he's losing his mind, and Ben changed back to human, saying that he's at least got that right before kicking him in the face, causing him to fall over and pass out. Gwen says finally, now they can just go home and get some sleep, to which Ben agrees with. It was getting late, and her graduation was meant to be in about. He then pulls up the clock function on the new Omnitrix and says that she's got about 12 hours. Nodding, she says that he's lucky he's already out the door with diploma in hand. Crossing his arms, he says that he just wishes she wouldn't be so far apart. It's gonna get lonely without her around. Gwen then jokes that he'd just have to keep the bed warm without her while she's off to college, though they could still visit one another plenty often, as she'd gotten the hang of the teleportation spell, and he had Ship bringing him to visit her, so the ride would only take maybe 5 minutes at the most to get there. They continued along their way together as we see a house that was in the catalog Ben had been checking out. Seems one of the houses were up to stuff as the two of them went on inside. Gwen went to get a shower while Ben simply flopped onto the bed, and Ship was sleeping curled up onto the couch with an old cartoon playing on the television. After getting out of the shower, Gwen told Ben to budge over, and he rolled over to the other side of the bed in response. They were exhausted due to what time it was, and the two had quickly gone off to sleep. The next morning, Ben had gotten up before Gwen and went to go get cleaned up. After Ben was up and ready, he'd went and made breakfast for the two of them, with something for Ship to enjoy too. And Gwen then woke up to the smell of breakfast, going down to see what's on the menu this morning. Ben greets Gwen, calling her beautiful instead of her name, showing they'd moved more forward in their relationship a bit, but then they were living together, so. Ben sets a plate in front of Gwen, and she says that it smells great, starting to enjoy it. She'd learned not to ask questions about what was in Ben's cooking. I'd rather just enjoy the flavors. Something he'd picked up from Grandpa Max and the whole alien travels thing as well. Their home had a cozy feel to it, something both he and her parents had remarked about whenever they had come over to visit, and she really hated going, but she needed this. He understood her want for a normal college experience, or as normal as they could get anyway. That's why she'd applied to the one she'd chosen to go off to after all. He would miss her, but it made her happy to further her education, and really seeing her happy was what mattered to him. Gwen asked Ben about what time it was exactly, wondering how badly she slept in from staying up too late. He tells her it's 9 a.m., but he'd already called ahead to let them know that they had a late night with work, but that they would not be late for the ceremony, just the prep stuff. Gwen let out a sigh of relief, thanking Ben for that, glad that he'd been able to take care of things like that. It's funny, back when they were kids, he would have been a complete flake. They'd really come a long way together. Ben asked what's gotten her staring off into space, and Gwen says she was thinking about how much of a flake Ben would have been back when they were kids when it came to anything important meant for her. And Ben jokingly says that she was always the know-it-all before asking, didn't they make her the know-it-all queen of her class or whatever? And she bops him, though it was all in good fun. She tells him the word is valedictorian and he knows it. He just laughs and says that they should eat and finish getting ready so they could head out to her school, and Gwen agrees. They had prepared to head on out, taking Ship with them and putting a little bow tie on him for the occasion. They had arranged seating for when they got there, and Gwen had Ben sitting beside her parents for this event. Ship was being watched by Ben's parents, and slowly the ceremony was starting to begin, allowing the students to come up and get their graduation diplomas, and sit back down so they can continue on the rest of the ceremony. Once all the diplomas had been handed out, a few of the other speeches were made, and then Gwen was able to give her valedictorian speech to her former classmates to encourage them to continue their educations, though most probably wouldn't. She really seemed to shine up there talking about education. It looked like that spot was really made just for her. Well, to Ben it did. Once it was all over, the graduates went to chat with their friends and family, some going on to other locations for after graduation celebrations, which is also what they were going to do, heading on back to their place together with their parents for an after celebration now that Gwen has graduated. Getting back to their place, they let their parents inside the house as Chip bounces happily to be home, because it means he could take the bow tie off, and Ben helps him remove it before removing his own tie as well. He looked good in a suit, but that doesn't mean he likes to wear them, and so he heads on upstairs to change into something more comfortable. After changing, he rejoins the party and chats with Gwen's parents about the speech, telling them that stage looked like it was made specifically for her and everyone else was an afterthought. Grandpa Max laughs, hearing that, and says that when someone talks about their passions, it usually appears that way. Once the party was over with, everything was cleaned up and their parents and Grandpa Max left. Gwen says that she does have something for Ben as they were getting ready for bed, standing in front of the closet. They were going to bed because tomorrow she'd be heading out to Freakin' University to start her college education, something she was looking forward to. He asked his girlfriend what she had for him, and a big pillow smacked him in the head in response to the question. He then pulls it from his head, looking at it and finding a body pillow of adult Lucky Girl and quirking an eyebrow as Gwen was laughing at him. Though he asked where she even got a body pillow of herself in her adult Lucky Girl getup, and why they are even letting it be sold. Though she says it's custom just for him, so you don't get lonely without me.